Disinformation never stops, but neither do we. Welcome to StopFake, the place where we dissect disinformation and set the record straight on fakes about Ukraine. I'm Marko Suprun, and this week we look at the following fakes. Ukraine's military command announces punitive Donbas campaign and Crimea offensive. Ukraine to force Crimea and Donbas residents to repent, and Ukrainian tracks in the Skripal poisoning case. So let's get to the details. Russian media launched a series of stories this week claiming that Ukraine's military command announced a punitive campaign aimed at cleaning up Russian-occupied Donbas and an offensive against Crimea. The source for this fake story, cited by all media who disseminated it, is Colonel Yuri Bobrov. He's an officer from Ukraine's military general staff. On March the 6th, he held a briefing in Kyiv to discuss Ukraine's new law on reintegration of the Donbas and deoccupation of Crimea, Ukraine's peninsula that Russia annexed in 2014. Not at any time during the briefing did Bobrov speak about a campaign or an offensive. During the briefing, Bobrov explained that Ukraine's anti-terrorist operation, this is what Kyiv calls the war in Russian-occupied Donbas, would continue during the reintegration process. But he pointed out that these are separate operations with different goals. Russian media completely ignored Bobrov's explanation and declared that the Donbas operation would be purely punitive. Colonel Bobrov explained that the new law aimed at re-establishing Ukrainian sovereignty in the occupied territories went into effect on February 28, 2018. 8 working groups of legislators are currently preparing amendments to 78 existing laws that need to be enacted in compliance with the new reintegration law. Last week, Russian media such as NTV, Ukraina.ru, RIA Novosti, and others featured stories claiming that the Ukrainian government would be forcing all residents of annexed Crimea and the occupied Donbas territories to request pardons and ask for forgiveness for supporting the separatist cause. Former Ukrainian MP Andriy Senchenko, director of the Sila Prava, Strength of Law NGO, published a text of his draft law on pardoning those Ukrainian citizens who, during the period of Russian aggression and occupation of Ukraine, committed unlawful acts in support of Russia and to the detriment of Ukraine, acts which carry criminal liability according to Ukraine's criminal code. The draft was published on the NGO's website. Senchenko dismissed the fake Russian media claims about his draft law and pointed out that their main lie is that all Crimea and Donbas residents must ask for pardons and all will have their rights curtailed accordingly. Only those who committed crimes against Ukraine should repent. Grave crimes will not be forgiven. Those who violated Ukraine's laws under pressure of circumstance and committed like crimes will be pardoned, Senchenko wrote. To pardon or not to pardon is frankly a moot question because Senchenko is not a member of parliament and his draft law is at this point simply a private initiative. Russian media, however, conveniently overlooked this salient detail and presented the draft as practically a done deal. To claim that Kyiv intends to force Donbas and Crimea residents to ask for pardons is mendacity and manipulation at its best. But the truth is just a pesky detail for the Russian propaganda machine. The recent poisoning in Britain of former Russian double agent Sergei Skripal and his daughter has generated copious fake stories and tweets out of Russia claiming this is just desserts for a traitor, that Britain is responsible for the poisoning, and even that the nerve agent could have come from Ukraine. From the warnings on Russia's state channel One Vremya Pokazhet current affairs program about what befalls traitors to the motherland, to Russia's chief propagandist Dmitry Kisilov openly insinuating that Britain is fatal for Russia on the Rossiya 24 channel with a story entitled The Fatal Place, Russian media are presenting this story as a Western operation aimed at discrediting Russia, a classic case of blaming Russia, and an example of UK delirium intended to further stir up anti-Russian feelings and sabotage the upcoming World Cup that Russia is hosting this year. Another version of events propagated by Russian Defense Ministry television station Zvezda is that the entire Skripal episode was organized by British Prime Minister Theresa May, but either Ukraine or one of the Baltic countries could also be involved, as they are all in the pocket of, you guessed it, the CIA. A former director of Russia's FSB security service, Nikolai Kovalyov, also sees a Ukrainian connection to the poisoning. Russia's scattergun reaction to the Skripal poisoning is reminiscent of how the Kremlin and their minions reacted to the shooting down of MH17, putting out a myriad of bizarre explanations, none aimed at explaining or investigating the event, but rather were intended to sow confusion about the truth. You can find more stories analyzing Russian fakes about the Skripal poisoning on our website, StopFake.org. That's it for this week. For more dissected fakes as well as tips on how to spot them, visit our website. Also, be sure to check out some of the more interesting work being done by our colleagues to battle disinformation in our context section. Look, respect your mind, be vigilant, and don't consume fakes. If you spot any disinformation about Ukraine, send it to us for a truth autopsy. I'm Marko Suprun, and this is StopFake. Thanks for watching.